Days ago.
I know hard they got
Like, welcome to the meeting, pledge allegiance by Supervisor Pat.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Like to welcome everybody to the first of the roll.
Mr. Conover, Mr. Mayday,
Here.
Mr. Diamond,
Here.
Gilligan, here, Ms. Turner, here, Mr. Bruno,
Here.
Driscoll,
Here.
Mr. Beckman,
Here.
Mr. Drossy, Mr. Bean,
Here.
Mr. Chris,
Here.
Mr. Merlino,
Here.
Mr. Stroud, Mr. Wild,
Here.
Allen, Mr. Strainer,
Here.
Ritu,
Here.
Mr. Thomas,
Here.
Ms. Runyon, Chairman Garrity, quorum is established.
First time of business, motion to approve the minutes of the June 21st board meeting, subject to correction by the motion by Mr. Diamond, second by Mr. Merlino. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, we have a public hearing on community development needs to find a possible submission for one or more community development block grant applications for the 2024 program year. And I'll ask that the clerk read the notice of public hearing.
Warren County will hold a public hearing on Friday, July 19th, 2024 at 10 a.m. in the Board of Supervisors rooms located at the Warren County Municipal Center, 1340 State Route 9, Queensbury, New York, for the purpose of hearing public comments on community needs for the county and to discuss the possible submission of one or more community development block grant applications for the current 2024 program year. The CDBG program is administered by the New York State Office of Community Renewal and will make available to eligible local governments approximately $25 million in federal fiscal program year 2024 CD program funding for housing, economic development, public facilities, public infrastructure, and public planning activities with the principal purpose of benefiting low and moderate income persons. The hearing will provide information about the CDBG program and will allow for citizen participation in the development of any proposed grant applications and or to provide technical assistance to develop alternate proposals. Comments on the CDBG program or proposed projects will be received at this time. The hearing is being conducted pursuant to section 570.486 subpart 1 of the CFR and in compliance with the requirements of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended. Specifically, Warren County will be applying for up to $400,000 in funding to support home repairs via the CDBG Infrastructure Facilities and Planning Program. The location of the public hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. The special accommodations are needed for persons with disabilities, those with hearing impairment, or those in need of translation from English. Those individuals should contact the clerk of the Board of Supervisors between the hours of 8 and 5 p.m. during regular business days, at least 1 week in advance.
Okay, we'll open this public hearing. Anybody wish to comment or con to this public hearing, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Seeing nobody right now, we'll keep the public hearing open and we'll go to our next public hearing. This will be on the Adirondack Community College operating budget.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Warren, New York is considering the adoption of a tentative operating budget for Adirondack Community College for fiscal year 2024-2025. Notice is further given that pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Board of Supervisors on June 21st, 2024, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Supervisors on July 19th, 2024 at 10 a.m. in the supervisors rooms at the Warren County Municipal Center located at 1340 State Route 9, Queensbury, New York, at which time and place all persons interested in the matter of such proposed budget will be heard concerning same. A copy of the tentative operating budget for Adirondack Community College for fiscal year 2024 through 2025 is available for inspection during regular business hours by contacting the clerk of the Board of Supervisors at the above stated address and may be viewed on the Warren County website.
Okay, declare that public hearing open. Anybody who wish to comment on the SUNY Adirondack operating budget for 2024-25? The floor is open, same rules. Come to the podium and give your name and address for the record. Anybody wish to comment? Seeing none. Anybody on the CDBG grant application? Well, I'll close the CBG grant public hearing. We'll leave the SUNY Adirondack open for a little bit in case somebody has thinks of a comment. Privilege of floor and public comment. Anybody wish to address the board on any issue, please come to the podium, state your name and give your comments. Seeing none, we'll go into reports of the chairman and the committee chairs. Fairly busy month. On June 21st, I was here for the board meeting. On 21st, I also attended a meeting with the CSEA of the CSEA negotiation committee. And we talked with the appointed fact finder. On the 25th, we attended criminal justice, public safety, health services, human services, committee meetings. On the 26th, attended APA local government meeting in Keene, New York. On the 27th, attended inter-county meeting in Chazy, New York, hosted by Clinton County, along with Frank Thomas and John Teflon. We spent the time at the William H. Minor Agricultural Research Institute and the Heart's Delights Farm. On the 28th, we attended the county facilities, public works, economic growth committee meetings. On July 3rd, I attended the legislative and rules, personnel and higher education and budget committee meetings. On July 8th, I attended the annual tobacco asset securitization corporation meeting here. On July 10th, attended a meeting with some of the Lake George Coalition members to talk about the future of the winter events in Lake George. On the 16th, attended the health insurance meeting for review. We talked with Marshall Stirring about upcoming health insurance needs for the county. And then the last few days, the 17th and 18th, have been out most of the day looking at damaged events up in our areas. And I know all the communities have had damage. And then we set up a center at the firehouse up there to give out water and dry ice to anybody who needed it. We had about 100 residents stop yesterday, and we are open today for another 8 hours. If anybody needs it, we still have plenty of dry ice and water available. And that's at the Warrensburg Firehouse on 18 Elm Street. And I just would like to thank the crews for getting out, all of the first responders, the highway departments. This is a massive undertaking. It's going to be a massive cleanup. It won't be done in a few days. And we just ask people's patience with our highway departments. A lot of damage in this storm. It was quite amazing. So, but the crews are out and they're doing the best jobs. There's still a lot of contractors in the area helping National Grid get power up. I know some of the communities have it, some don't. We have a couple county roads that are still closed. And but I think all in all, nobody was hurt. And that's the important thing. And they're working safely. So I want to thank everybody for that. That being said, we'll go on to reports of chairman. We start with Supervisor Paget. Any report today?
No report.
Thank you. Supervisor Drossy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On June 25th, the Criminal Justice, Public Safety and Emergency Services Committee met. We had a very brief agenda. As a result, there's just one resolution for your consideration. That's number 223, which is an execution of a New York State grant. And let me just echo the chair's comments about the great work that our emergency services did, fire, law enforcement, and EMS over the last week. Tremendous amount of effort, appreciated by all. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Supervisor Bean.
Yes, I attended the, it was a guess a ceremony, you'd call it, that Dan Steck had set up for Barton Mine as a one of the companies that's been around for more than 50 years, and they were awarded a plaque. Great event, good for Barton Mine, and certainly good for Warren County. That's all I have to report.
Supervisor Crusito. No report. Supervisor Molino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's three resolutions, 235, 236, and 237 from tourism and OPTEX. The one that I really want favor support is the balloon festival money. We upped it to 100,000 this year. So the other two are just general things. Again, I'd like to say the same thing. Our town, Lake Luzerne, our road department did a hell of a job. They got our roads open in no time. We had quite a few closed. We still have 24 people as of last night without power, but it should be restored today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Strauss.
Yes, thank you. The Legislative Rules and Governmental Operations Committee met July 3rd, 2024. We have two resolutions before you for your consideration. The first one, Resolution 230, is over the donation of an electronic whiteboard that originally was attributed to the Douglas and Patricia Hour. However, that was a misunderstanding. And this resolution is to make the correction that the donor name was Dr. Stephen Serlin and Kathy Serlin. And Resolution 231 is to support the Elderwood in North Creek. There is proposed spending cuts, and that could hurt that nursing home up in North Creek. And this is to encourage New York State to provide more funding to the Elderwood at North Creek Nursing Home to allow the operations in the facility to continue. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Personnel met on the 3rd of July. I have to personally thank Supervisor Driscoll, Vice Chair Driscoll, for covering in my absence. There's two resolutions before us today. 238 is basically a summary of adding and deleting some positions and decreasing some salaries. I would appreciate your support with that. And 239 is a resolution rescinding the administrative leave related to COVID. So those two are the resolutions that I'm hoping that we can support today. And just one other note, as chair of the Local Development Corporation for Warren County, we just wanted to give everyone just a look forward to what the organization is doing. We've been moving for the last few months, looking to see how we can address issues such as housing, such as septic, and entrepreneurs. And hopefully within the next few months, I'll be able to report some new news from the Local Development Corporation in terms of how we're moving forward with that and starting to leverage some of the money that we have to help the local economy. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Supervisor McGowan.
No report.
Supervisor Strainer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Health Services met on June 25th. From that, we have resolutions 227, 228, and 229. 227 is increase for Hamilton County's Office of the Aging. It is at no cost to us. 228 is their annual report. And 229 is authorizing an agreement with New York State Department of Health for special implementation of the food program. Other than that, thank you.
Supervisor E2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Economic Growth and Development met on June 28th, 224 through 226 is proposed before us. Pretty simple. They revolve around grants received and grants we want to apply for. Both our planning and workforce development departments continue to consistently secure 6- and 7-figure sources of funding to help further our goals here. At that meeting, we received an update from our GIS administrator related to short-term rentals, their spatial distribution, estimated profitability, ownership trends. We also got an update from our regional planning board director. We meet again next Wednesday on or around 11:30. Thank you.
Supervisor Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance and Budget met on July 3rd. There's the usual supplemental appropriations. Resolution 220. From that, $65,828.99 will be spent from the contingent account. And Resolution 221 is
amending the 2024 budget with anticipated revenues for 6 different departments. Resolution 240 is the upgrade and adoption of a revised credit card policy for Warren County. Resolution 241 appropriates $160,000 from A895 Computer Reserve Fund. And this is to purchase an updated phone system for the county. That leaves $137,000 balance in the Computer Reserve Fund. Resolution 242 is increasing a capital project for anticipated revenues from the state of New York, an amount of $400,000 for septic replacement. Resolution 243 is to authorize an application for a grant to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for a composting pilot program. This is a climate smart community project. The application is for $200,000. There is a 50% match, so if awarded, it'll be $100,000 to Warren County. And resolution 244 is approving the Adirondack Community College operating budget for 2024-25. Total amount is $34,844,165. Warren County share is $2,507,295. This is an increase as agreed last year of $168,735.18. At that meeting, there was also discussion about increasing the sales tax from 7% to 8%. Through the discussion, it was decided to refer it to the chairman and have a workshop for the entire board rather than just the finance and budget committee. This past Tuesday, on 7/16, Administrator Taflin, Assistant Administrator DeLorenzo, and myself had a meeting with the department heads about the 2025 budget and process. I have set a goal with the department heads of a 5% reduction in expense. And I understand this is not going to be an easy goal to achieve. But I felt the goal had to be set, and we'll try to achieve it and see where we end up. And lastly, with the chairman's permission, I would like to turn the floor to the treasurer. She would like to give.
Good morning, and thank you. Just a quick update. We've been giving updates at the OCTAX and the finance, and there's just a couple of supervisors that aren't in those meetings, and there are just a couple of things we wanted to share with you. A couple things coming out of the treasurer's office. We've been talking a lot about OCTAX. As you know, right now we are up in total through 7/18, about $100,000 in OCTAX receipts to date. In the overall OCTAX receipts collections, we're up about $169,000 or overall 12%. What's really, it's actually not surprising. Short-term rental collections are up almost 100,000, and that's 86%. So the 100,000 that I said we were up was actually in the short-term rentals. Overall, we're only up 12%. Sorry about that. So again, we're in the high season, so we're making money, but the short-term rentals are outpacing the hotels. Sorry, Vinny. As you know, we've been tough on enforcement. We're continuing to be so. When I took over from Mr. Swan, he had an enforcement pile that we've been digging through. And we had about $350,000 to $500,000 in OCTAX past due amounts that hadn't been received to date. In those efforts, we are close to 200,000 of actual receipts, 187 to be specifically. We have agreements with the Mohegan Motel, which I know a lot of people were asking about. We actually received $80,000 on that. And we have several other receipts that we are working on getting through basically the change in the process. And this is in the local law, but we've been leveraging it. We put out notices of determination to people who owe money. What these are basically putting a lien on their properties. And we went after the Baymont and the Mohegan because they were in the process being sold. And so the good news is we are getting the money out of them at the closing table. They are not skipping off with that money. So that's good. And it's not being transferred to the current owner. We have another close to $300,000 in progress. I'll keep you posted on that. Granicus, you know, thank you so much for supporting that contract. We're out of the quiet period. And boots are on the ground starting next week, and we have 250 additional. So new short-term rentals that are not registered that we're going after. Now, mind you, not all 250 may be viable, but that's a good number to start with, and that's going to bring additional funds in. And again, if you remember when we signed that contract, Granicus expected the lift to be anywhere between $260,000 and $600,000 on a $40,000 investment. That's a 500 to 1400% return on investment. Local law number 5 rewrite, which is the occupancy tax law, local law. We're working with tourism and Larry, and we're rewriting that to be clearer, more concise, more actionable, and tougher on enforcement. Mr. Lehman put out a gentle reminder recently in the past few months. What we'd like to do is put out another reminder to Warren County, letting them know that the laws are changing and are getting tougher. And that things in the past that we haven't enforced, like $1,000 if you don't register, we're going to make that up to $10,000, and that's going to be annually. So again, it's up to our discretion, but we want to make it a little bit, we want to give it more teeth. Everyone knows about the sales tax legislation. Moving on to sales tax legislation, that is still being discussed, or it's passed, but now Hochul's got to sign it. Johnsburg has asked that the treasurer's office come up and discuss it with Steck and Mr. Simpson. So that'll be sometime in August. The budget variance report updates, you guys, you may see some changes. We're trying to get more clear, more concise with some of the OpTax information that you're seeing, both from a cash flow perspective on how they're spending it. And that's Mr. Merlino's and Heather that are putting those numbers together, but I think it's more clear, it's more concise. And then the numbers that I just shared with you are also now in the monthly update. The general fund, it hasn't really moved since the last time, but again, we're down to about a $2.1 million surplus outside of our minimum fund balance of 34.6 million, which represents about 2 months of operating expenses. So again, just a gentle reminder to please weigh future general fund requests with great care, as we now have about less than 5 months left. Other than that, just a quick update on the ban. We got our $8.4 million a couple of months ago. We ended up at a 3.6% interest rate. I said it was going to be 3 to 3.5. It was 3.6. Again, if you remember, the plan is to roll that into a bond later this year when we get the culvert assessment of all Warren County. And again, what I would urge is any large capital expenditures that may be on the horizon, we seriously look at and consider maybe including those in the bond. And then Chairman Garrity spoke briefly about TASC, which is the Warren Tobacco Asset Securitization Corporation, getting my hands around the name and also the work there. Basically, we get 50% annually of what the TASC, the corporation, it's a separate corporation, what they receive annually in perpetuity from the federal government. Federal government sends it to state sends it to the counties, and that's basically based on tobacco sales. What I'd like to do, we had a clean opinion. We got all of our government reporting done, and then we had our annual meeting, and it was discussed at the annual meeting at a future board meeting to give you guys kind of an update as to what that looks like. It's interesting. I personally think we should go after vaping now, but again, that's a little bit of beyond me, but it's something that I've talked to people about. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the treasurer has done a good job breaking down the tobacco, how it works, and it's very helpful. And I think, you know, we should have a discussion about that in the future, so everybody gets the information on that. It can be confusing how we got into that. It's well before all our times that they entered into it, but your one-page sheet, that was very helpful. So I appreciate that. Is anybody in the room own a white Volkswagen license plate LG 642? You need to go down, where is it? Oh, security is here. They're looking for the owner of a white Volkswagen plate number LG 642. If you could come out and talk to security. So I guess it's here. Don't see anything. What? It's in the DMV lot, so, but obviously you know your plate numbers and nobody's moving, so, okay. We'll continue on with the committee reports, Supervisor Conover.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Works met, represented in your packet by resolutions 232, 233, 234. It's all pretty straightforward. The 233 is a rewrite of our MS4 program. Mr. Hager is here. If you have any specific questions, I just quickly, I'd like to comment on the report by Frank under finance of the pilot program, the application to DEC. We're moving forward with the idea with our partners of getting to a point where perhaps we can begin to remove the green waste from our waste stream. And if we are able to do that, you're talking at least by weight of possibly reducing the waste stream 30 to 40%. And that has huge implications going forward, not only financially, but also for the environment. So we continue to make progress on that front. I commend our partners in this, the zero waste people, and the department, Mr. Hajos and his department of staff, for continuing to move forward with that possibility. And I also would like to weigh in on, minutes after that storm moved through, many of us were out and about because we need to understand and survey our communities to see what the result is. And what you looked at, if for those that may not have been out, is just, literally mile after mile of fallen trees, some going north, some going east, some going whatever direction, taking out power lines, transformers, in people's yards, on their homes, on their accessory buildings. It was a very violent storm, and in some areas, and in North Bolton, it was resulted in some really terrible results. And I just want to say, as you get out and you look, all of a sudden there are your emergency responders. They're out, lights going, responding to whatever the emergency is, a fire, a health issue, whatever. And there's your highway departments, including your county highway departments, out assessing the information and beginning to put their plan together on how to attack this. And certainly to our local highway departments, you can't say enough, but I also just want to kudos to our county highway department for their response. You're talking days now in response. I still have areas without power. Hopefully it'll be remedied today, but you watched them yesterday in that sun and that heat, doing that work, dangerous work. You're operating chainsaws, major pieces of equipment, carrying heavy loads, etc. And I just can't say enough about the response and the work that they do hand in hand with our town highway departments. On the upside, there wasn't a lot of rain with the event, so we didn't have many, if any, washed out roads or culverts. A lot of times when you have an event like this, you've got impassable roads, which only complicates things even further. And at least I have not heard of any serious injury or fatality to this point, so we can all count our blessings in that regard. And to those of you that called inquiring as to the status of things, especially you, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Supervisor Mayday.
National Grid. Yeah, I just want to reflect on the
same that everyone's been saying, great response by everybody and the highway crews and fire departments, police, National Grid and the secondary, the subcontractors, they did a great job. We were hit pretty hard, but we were very fortunate. We got most of our power back now and we're moving forward. And then I also want to mention that it's after the fact, but the Chestertown did have its 225th anniversary celebration and that went off well and we had a good time and the weather was good then. So, all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Supervisor Diamond,
No reports.
Supervisor Gilligan,
No report.
Supervisor Turner.
Thank you. I would just like to, again, thank our responders, emergency responders, and Glens Falls did receive significant damage during that storm. There was one spot that they said there was an 87-mile-an-hour gust that went through. And I especially would like to thank Tom Gerard and his team at the DPW. Thank you.
Supervisor Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. County facilities met on Friday, June 28th at 9 a.m. You have resolution 222 for your consideration. This is authorizing agreement with the Federal Aviation Administration to perform a flight check prior to activation of the precision approach path indicator system at runway 119 at the Warren County Airport. And this is at a cost of $14,195.52. But this is necessary and required. I hope you will support that. Additionally, we had talked to Mr. Wallace, Building Codes. There are some employee retirements on the horizon. There were 2 vacancies that will be reissued. We discussed options to cover these vacancies because, as everyone's aware, doesn't matter what business you're in these days, it's difficult finding people, recruiting people. And with the code enforcement, the inspections that are done to existing businesses, homes, et cetera, and new construction, it's critical that we be able to manage that workload. So we're looking at options which may entail the engagement of an independent consultant that is authorized, because you have to be certified in order to do these inspections and have them carry any weight or be valid. Additionally, we discussed the regional morgue, which I think most of you are aware of that. That is, again, something on the horizon that is quite necessary. It's a requirement. And we're trying to engage other municipalities to assist us with this. Many hospitals are not doing autopsies anymore. Well, that presents a big problem. The reason is they're in the business of saving lives, help. They don't want to be in the business of dealing with deceased individuals. So we have a meeting next week with all the county coroners in the area, et cetera, to gauge their input. So we're continuing to study this and see if we can get some assistance, possibly if we go ahead with construction of a new regional facility. And additionally, we have a meeting regarding the Joseph Warren Museum. Mr. Hajos has scheduled a meeting next week, I believe, again, to discuss this facility and see what we might do with it now that it's come to pass that it's too much money, and I agree to fund a new standalone museum. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Human Services Committee met on June 25th. There was a short discussion about veteran services matters. There were no resolutions coming from that meeting. The next meeting of the Human Services Committee will be this coming Tuesday, July 23rd, beginning on or about 9:45 a.m. And we'll be hearing again from Veteran Services. This past Tuesday afternoon, just before the storm hit, I was able to email members of the board the Department of Social Services monthly update. Again, that was this past Tuesday. If you didn't get that, get back in touch with me or contact Commissioner Nina Mastriani. Cornell Cooperative Extension's Executive Director, John Bowe, is with us. He dropped off their monthly program update. Extension is also looking for new board members as ongoing members go off at the end of this year. So if you know of anyone, currently I serve with Supervisors Bruno, Strainer, and McGowan on that committee as Board of Supervisors representatives. So I think Dan is a private member, but if you know of anyone who might be interested. The last few days, I've been working very closely with Department of Social Services and Administration to share information to the approximately 4,000 households, individuals, and families that receive SNAP benefits. There's a part of the law that states that if you've lost power for at least 4 consecutive hours, you could very well be eligible for reimbursement of your monthly SNAP benefits. So the maximum that a single individual can receive each month is $291. The minimum is $23. So if you receive, we'll say $150, you can sign a form that went out in that email, fax it, email it, drop it off to social services, or put it in the mail within 10 days, and that might be extended and get reimbursed by the federal government, who forwards that money to the New York State Office of Temporary Disability Assistance. So it's not coming out of our taxpayers' money, but if you've lost food, especially like freezer type of food or refrigerated food, you can document that. You don't need to show receipts from the supermarket. You just sign the one-page form. It's a pretty simple form. If you have more questions, you can certainly get in touch with me or representatives over at Social Services. This past earlier this week, I had an opportunity to stop over to the Cedars and take a tour of their meal site, which the Salvation Army is administering. I met with Major Stephen Carroll, also spoke to a number of the people in the kitchen, and I spoke to a number of residents at the Cedars. That was a real hot topic issue for a couple of years here during 2022 and 23. I've been monitoring it, and I can honestly say that the residents over there are very pleased. They've worked out kinks and issues along the way that come up, but I think that if you have a chance to stop over there, especially supervisors from Queensbury and Glens Falls, I think you'll find that they're doing a good job, and it's getting better. The number of people who are coming to lunch is increasing at a good pace. So I think that it was one of those issues that we vetted. We did the pros and cons and worked out things, and I think we should be proud of the fact that we made that decision. And this finally, I sit on the committee that Supervisor Thomas chairs, and I will ask for your support early of Resolution 243, an issue that's important to me. That's the composting pilot program. Thank you.
Great. I'll go back on to the public hearing on the SUNY Adirondack budget. Does anybody wish to voice any opinion on that? Anybody from the audience on the SUNY Adirondack? And we will close that public hearing. And we'll move on to report of county administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we went around the room, every item I had on my list has been covered by one of you in this room, so I appreciate, I won't repeat everything. Just a quick update on the power outage. 2 days ago, we had 17,000 people in the county. Today, it's right now 750. Biggest hit still remains Horicon and Chester and Johnsburg. And they expect to have all the power restored by 11:30 this evening. There will be an update by National Grid at 2 o'clock. We'll make sure we get the phone number and the code out to all of you who want to join that. And just reiterate, our county, town, and first responders, phenomenal job. Countryside Adult Home, we have a COVID outbreak there. Right now, about 20 residents over the past 2 weeks have tested positive. Contact tracing shows it was brought in by a visitor. 9 staff members have tested positive. Amy and her staff are doing a phenomenal job keeping the site operational. All are under doctor's care. The medications that we're getting now are doing a good job at keeping the symptoms under control. We do have one resident who was hospitalized. But it's just kind of a reminder to us that COVID is still around. Again, the symptoms are not as severe as they were early on, but we've seen an increase across the county, and we've also seen an increase in wastewater testing of COVID. So just urge everyone to continue to be vigilant about that. You also know probably we are in a nationwide computer outage. DMV is closed. DSS is still operational, but most of their online systems, because they're state run, will be down today, as will the Board of Elections. They'll be closed today as well. The rest of the county, our IT team has done a phenomenal job going through, getting our servers up, and they have to go to each individual computer and reset that computer with new passwords and codes and things like that. So they're doing a great job. We will be operational all day at the county. Only other thing I'd mention is we had our health insurance working group this past week. We're going to meet again on August 14th. One of the things we're considering is the cost of our pharmaceuticals. Our drug costs have gone pretty high, and they have recommended that we might want to consider an alternative pharmacy plan. We'll look closely at that. There will be some disruptions if we do that to our employees. So we probably won't make a decision on that until sometime in August if we do. Moving on to employee anniversary dates. Joshua Lopez, Sheriff. Michael Lapointe, Sheriff. Anthony Bruno, Sheriff. Tracy Van Ness, Buildings and Codes, all have 20 years. Jesse Wittenberg, Sheriff. Charles Geisler, Sheriff. Gregory Dunn, Sheriff. Terry Combs, Sheriff, also 21 years. Pete DeFiore, Sheriff's Office, 23 years. Tim Murphy, our coroner, one of our coroners, 24 years. Bernice Cummins, Office for the Aging, 28 years. Lexi Delory, Real Property, 29 years. And Amy Brown, Social Services, 30 years.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
County Attorney.
Good morning. In the past month since the last board meeting, the county has received service of one notice of claim. It was reported to our insurance carrier, and the departments involved did receive a litigation hold letter. That's a letter that goes out each time we become aware of a potential claim against the county. No new lawsuits have been received in the last 30 days. Concerning tax foreclosure, the redemption date and we have just under 30 properties that remain unpaid, which is a tremendous decrease in the number of total properties from where we started and even where we were at the beginning of last week. I am told the treasurer's office was incredibly busy last week with individuals coming in to pay those taxes before the redemption date on Friday. So I am thankful to all of those property owners and interested parties who helped reduce the number of properties which we have to deal with in the tax foreclosure moving forward. And that's my report for this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Bringing communications.
County Auditor's June 2024 Real Property Tax Corrections Report. Then the Town of Queensberry Planning Board provided a notice of public hearing to consider an application for Montcalm Housing Development. And we have Washington County Board of Supervisors Resolution number 195, 2024, which is the consent to the Warren, Washington IDA's undertaking of an industrial development project in the town of Queensberry, known as 326 Sherman Avenue Associates LLC, or the Dome.
We'll go to reading of resolutions.
Resolution numbers 220 through 243 and proclamation numbers 26 and 27 were posted to the Warren County website and distributed to the members of the Board of Supervisors on Monday, July 15th. Resolution number 244 was posted and distributed on July 16th. The proclamations before you are number 26, National Pretrial Probation and Parole Supervision Week, and 27, National Parks and Recreation.
Does anybody have to be recused from any resolution?
Yes, thank you. 223, with the criminal justice, I feel I brought up in the past that I should probably recuse myself since, I have a family member that works probation.
Roll call on that. Roll call vote on that one.
Please.
Okay. And when we do that one, as you'll leave the room. Any other recusals? Any public comment from anybody on any of the resolutions? Please come up to the podium. Seeing none. Discussions from supervisors. Any discussion on any resolution or Supervisor Patrick?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question as it pertains to resolution number 237, the $100,000 request for the monies being allotted to the balloon festival. Do we at the county have any estimated revenue increase that the balloon festival brings into Warren County, like kind of like real dollar amount data?
Yeah, Supervisor Patrick, we do have, I don't have the data. I don't know if I can get to the server right now that has that actual data. We do see a significant amount, a significant increase in our hospitality industry, both hotels, short-term rentals, and restaurants across the area as a result primarily of that balloon festival. There's no direct income that comes to the county from that program. It's all used to support the balloon festival. And I could look to Supervisor Molino or Supervisor Stroud might have some more information about that.
The only information that I can give you, I mean, I think we'd have to go to the treasurer and she can probably calculate that weekend or that week. But it is a substantial amount of money that's raised, like you said, through the hotels, motels, short-term rentals, restaurants. It's a major amount. We had a great discussion at our last meeting. It was very impressive of what goes on. And I personally say, you know, I've been on it for a long time, never knew we did so much. And it is one of the best events we have.
Supervisor Stroud.
Yeah, thank you. It is a shoulder event. A shoulder season. It's a September, the end of September event. And hotel rooms. Even the pilots that bring their balloons here have difficulty finding hotel room. That's how busy the Balloon Festival makes it. Plus, you'll see the restaurants, parking lots all full and everything else during that same time period. And yeah, they did do an economic study. It was a few years ago, and they repeated it last year when they had their anniversary event. But, you know, does exist, and it does bring in a lot of money to the area.
I think it's a true not-for-profit. So, you know, all the people who work over there did not receive any pay, but this was an increase that they had asked for, and it's still one of the top events that we have in the county. Supervisor Thomas, sorry.
Yes, I would just like to bring it to everybody's attention that the request from the Bloom Festival was for 75,000, not 100,000. So just so you know.
Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm in support of the $100,000. I wasn't on the committee, but I was there for the discussion. And some of this money, if I'm not mistaken, was to help them cover their reserves so that they can prepare for next year and the following year. One of the things that totally confuses me, though, and concerns me is the fact that we might be setting a precedent. Typically, we have a limit on occupancy tax of 50,000. So I don't want to see us going forward where the Balloon Festival gets $100,000 every year. I'd like to propose a modification to the resolution that says that we're going to give them $50,000 as a regular award and another $50,000 as a supplement, as a way to kind of restructure this to say that, you know, it's not $100,000 every year. And it may very well be, but right now today, we don't know if that's going to be totally the case. So if I could get some support from another board member, I'd like to make a resolution to modify this resolution.
Okay, Supervisor Molino.
Just to answer Frank Thomas, it was 75,000 that he was requesting. But after the discussion he had with us for about, I would say 40 minutes, and all the things that have happened and go on, I think the committee offered him another 25. But I like Mr. Wiles' idea that maybe we should start, maybe we can't do it now unless we don't pass this, but they start advertising and getting ready for the festival that comes months and ahead of time. So they need some money to do all that advertising. So that might be an idea for the future of 50%, one at definite, and whatever they ask for extra, a discussion on it at the OPEX meetings.
This is just a 1 year.
This is just 1 year, yes.
Excuse me. This is just a 1 year award. Supervisor McGowan.
1 year.
Thank you. Being a volunteer for I don't know how many years now since I actually entered, and being there, from pretty much 40 hours, working with the DPW, who does a wonderful job. You know, for years, we collected money at the buckets there, which seemed to become like a little competition amongst us supervisors, who's going to bring in the biggest bucket. And then, but it really is, it's a volunteer, pretty much a volunteer. Yes, our DPW people do sign up and come in and get paid, which I fully support for the work that they do, volunteering, doing the same thing they do, you know, with the garbage and the people, and it's really a huge things. But I'm not knocking. I think this festival is really a phenomenal opportunity for our area, and I'm so pleased that we've had it for, you know, so many years, and was happy there for the anniversary this past year. But also want to remind you too is that we stopped collecting the money at the entrance of the airport, which really, in return, I think helped the flow of traffic. It's amazing you can put up so many signs and warn people that, you know, and then all it is a donation. But people get so confused. But the flow of traffic went very well this year. And we did take money from the OCTAX to offset the costs that it costs the county and the payroll and that. So I just want to remind you and all, but I am, that the one-time 50,000, I am fully behind her, or 25. It's a great organization. It is a nonprofit, and there's the volunteer work that goes in behind the scenes is phenomenal. So just wanted to bring that up.
Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you. I've been down to Albuquerque, which has the largest balloon festival. I think I recently read that we're the second largest festival in the United States. That's a pretty big feat, and of course, it's well supported by guests and as well as residents from this area. As I remember at that meeting, Mr. Donahue, Mark Donahue, did mention that he understood that this was a one-time for this, this year, and that he might not even be requesting the initial $75,000 next year. It just mattered, as Supervisor Molino said, on how things all work out. So I would support Supervisor Wild's recommendation if we need a second on that.
It's a 1 year, it's in for 1 year right now, so I don't think we need to modify.
I also have another issue if I could.
On this.
No, I'm sorry, on another matter. Yes.
Supervisor Paget, have your questions been answered?
They have. I only asked that question just because I noted that it was a significant increase when I attended that committee meeting, and I just thought it was worth getting some clarity, and I have that now. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on this resolution? Yeah, Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarity, does it say here that this is just a 1 year situation? I can't read it that quickly to figure out whether it says that or not. And my concern is that
It's in
we're
the
just setting
heading.
that precedent.
It's a 1 year, sorry, Mr. Chairman. It is a 1 year every
Hold
year.
on, please, let the clerk.
This resolution is authorizing disbursement of 2024 occupancy tax revenues, and it's specific to the September 19th, 24 through September 22nd, 24 event. So this isn't reoccurring funding. This is just for 1 year. Next year, the Balloon Festival will have to come back and apply for funding again. So this would be $100,000 just for their 2024 event.
I understand. I'm not comfortable, but I will move forward and agree with it.
Thank you. Any other resolutions we need discussion on? Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Chairman. In light of the county administrator's report, I would like to pull for discussion resolution 239, and at the appropriate time offer an amendment to that same resolution. Thank you.
Okay, do you want to offer amendment on that?
Can I do that now?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I mean, in light of the numbers, in discussing the issue with Health Services Director Janelle Jones, we're, the numbers could during the summer get larger. It's been shown in the fall and early winter months. Numbers also have spiked in the past. I'm not an expert, but I think we need to kind of plan on caution, and I would recommend, if I could, that we extend the deadline from July 31st to the end of the year, December 31st. I don't see that as being a significant drain on the county. I don't think that there's going to be many individuals that fall into that. My concern is that on August 1st or early in August, if an individual does test positive, I want that person at home, not having to decide whether or not they have enough sick time in order to cover their paycheck. I think and one person that comes in sick can take out a whole office or whole number of people. So I think it as a preventive measure, I don't think it's going to have much of an impact, if any at all, on the county. I would recommend that we extend that state deadline from July 31st to December 31st in Warren County.
Okay, county administrator wants to make it.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what we're talking about is, this is the authority to give, COVID leave to employees who test positive for COVID. Since January, we have not had a significant number of, employees take advantage of this. And the state of New York changed their guidelines, ending their COVID leave policy on July 31st. So that's the reason that we discussed it and we decided, well, we might as well do the same thing because we didn't have a significant number. And again, that was before the countryside issue where we have 9 now. So I don't think there's no guidance from the state that we have to follow the state's policy on this. Other counties have not have chosen not to cancel their COVID leave policy at this time. So I'd say we don't have any issue with extending the deadline. Thank you.
Any other comments on this resolution? Supervisor Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What's the required quarantine period now? Hasn't that significantly decreased? It's all of it. Hoopla about three days, I think. It used to be what, 10 days, then 7, 5. I think it's 3.
So the policy we're following now is 5 days, and they test at the end of that time before, and they have to test negative before they can come back.
Just wondering what the possible length of that is as it relates to the number of cases.
Yeah. So we have an emotion, but is there any more discussion before we go forward with the motion?
Yeah, was there an amendment to extend this that I hear? Mr. Driscoll make?
Supervisor
Motion.
Driscoll is making.
Was it that a motion to extend the time period here?
Yes, sir.
And was there a second to that?
We need a second.
I'll second it.
We have a second
And then I just made
discussion.
Yeah, I think that this is COVID. I mean, let's not forget, we've got Department of Health people going into all kinds of health situations in people's homes. I mean, I don't want to start rattling off the kinds of health matters that they could be confronted with. And so I think that I would say to the county administrator that I'm not sure what the policy is relative to nurses that may go into somebody's home where all of a sudden there's a disease that they become possibly contaminated with or whatever. And I think what's our policy is that they have to use their own personal sick time. Having been, I mean, it would almost seem to me, it would almost be a workplace related issue, right? It's not something that they brought because they went to a supermarket. So I think that I'm for extending this, but I think that we should be pretty clear as an employer on what our policy is relative to nurses or health department people that go into possibly a dangerous situation, knowingly or unknowingly. And so I would just ask that you visit this and if there are changes that are needed or some amplification that I certainly would entertain that here.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second to extend the leave till December 31st. I understand.
Yep.
Just any other discussion? Supervisor Grassi.
Can the administrator tell us what that leave policy is? How many?
It's 5 days.
5 days. If somebody has the flu or other contagious, is there any consideration for that as well?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll defer because the county, the clerk of the board and I have discussed this, but we could make the recommendation just to withdraw this motion and we'll bring it back at an appropriate time.
Withdraw the until we
Withdraw the resolution.
So we have a motion to extend it and then the discussion, and it seems like we're up in the air on what the policy is. We can have just withdraw this resolution for the time being and discuss it until we have more factual information?
Mr. Chairman.
That way it would continue? Yes.
And it's just a legal recommendation. The policy is in place now. So this resolution was only to end the existing policy. So if the resolution is withdrawn, the policy continues in effect until such future time as it may come back to the board. That could be the end of December, it could be earlier, it could be later, but nobody has the crystal ball to know what's going to happen next month, 2 months, or 3 months from now. So it's just a suggestion and a legal recommendation that the board could also change the motion to just withdraw this resolution at this current time.
Mr. Driscoll?
I have no problem with that. I just want to be clear, what happens in early August, if a person does test positive?
We'll be working under
Under the current policy.
under current policy, which they get time off.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, so I would, support what I've just heard.
Are you you're amending your amendment to?
I'll
change it to
pull
withdraw?
my amendment if that's,
You want to withdraw the resolution?
withdraw the,
Supervisor Conover,
I'll withdraw, but I also like to comment here. if I could.
okay.
And that was my point. I mean, we have certain county personnel that go into households where people have the flu, where people have pneumonia. And I mean, I could run right up the ladder of issues, virus-related type issues. And I just want to make sure that they know that we support what they do. And now COVID was a different time. You could get COVID, in the store, you could get COVID anywhere, and it applied to all our employees, right? And so what this is doing is this is withdrawing that additional leave relative to COVID for all our employees. But in doing that, I just want to make sure that we safeguard our employees that we send into difficult situations, and they need to know that we support them when they go into those households. That's all I'm saying. Thank you. But I'll
Supervisor,
withdraw my second.
okay, Supervisor Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to put a motion forward to withdraw it.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second to withdraw. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Okay, that resolution has been withdrawn. Any other comment on any other resolutions? Okay. Yes, roll call votes on any other resolutions. We have the one for Mr. McGowan. Any other roll calls? Okay, I guess we vote on resolutions then.
Okay. Resolution, Mr. McGowan, are you recusing from?
Just being prepared. I'll stand at the door and then I'll walk around the corner when we get.
We got it. Okay. Understood.
Resolution 220, making supplemental appropriations, Mr. Patchit,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy.
Yep.
Mr. Bean,
Yes.
Mr. Crusito,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino.
Yes.
Mr. Stroud.
Yeah.
Mr. Wild.
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Strainer,
Yes.
Mr. Etu.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Mayday,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Ms. Gilligan. Yes. Ms. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 221, amending Warren County budget for 2024 for various departments. Mr. Patchit,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy.
Yes.
Mr. Bean,
Yes.
Mr. Crusito,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud.
Yeah.
Mr. Wild.
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Strainer,
Yes.
Mr. Etu.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayday,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Ms. Gilligan. Yes. Ms. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Three.
Resolution 223, ratifying the actions of the Chair of the Board of Supervisors in executing a grant application to the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services for 13A classification funding to support the pretrial release program within the probation department. Mr. Patchit,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Bean,
Yes.
Mr. Crusito,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild.
Yes.
For the record, Mr. McGowan has recused and left the room. Mr. Strainer,
Yes.
Mr. Etu,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yes.
Mr. Mayday,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Ms. Gilligan,
Yes.
Ms. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 238, amending table of organization. Mr. Patchit,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Bean,
Yes.
Mr. Crusito,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Strainer,
Yes.
Mr. Etu,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yeah.
Mr. Conover.
Yes.
Mr. Mayday,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Ms. Gilligan,
Yes.
Ms. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 241, authorizing appropriation from the computer reserve. Mr. Patchit,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Bean,
Yes.
Mr. Crusito,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino.
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Strainer,
Yes.
Mr. Etu.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Mayday,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Ms. Gilligan,
Yes.
Ms. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 242, increasing capital project H418 septic system replacement fund round 3. Mr. Patchit.
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Bean,
Yes.
Mr. Crusito,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino.
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild.
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Strainer.
Yes.
Mr. Etu.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Mayday,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Ms. Gilligan,
Yes.
Ms. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 244, adopting and approving Adirondack Community College budget. Mr. Patchit,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Bean,
Yes.
Mr. Crusito,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild.
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Strainer,
Yes.
Mr. Etu.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Mayday,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Ms. Gilligan,
Yes.
Ms. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
All right, we have a collective vote. All those in favor of the other resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carry. Okay, we'll open the meeting up to any more public comment or any privilege of floor from anybody. Seeing none, yes, sir. Please come up, state your name and residence for the record.
Hi, my name is Mark. It's my first meeting here. I don't know if this has ever been brought up, but I wanted to discuss the intentional injection, release or dispersion of chemicals into the atmosphere, or known as chemtrails. Just using the wording from the Tennessee bill that was passed in April, SB 2691. This is, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but they have been spraying at an alarming rate. It's a lot more than I've ever seen. If you don't believe this, there's hundreds of patents on this at geoengineeringwatch.org. You can go see for yourself. I've read through a lot of these and they discuss how they need to run trials and experiments to see if this stuff even really works. But they're just doing it on us. Basically, all this stuff says is that they need to run experiments and how they're experimenting openly on us. They can't, they don't want to run extensive and expensive actual trials. So they're running this stuff now openly on the public. They're finding metal deposits on the roots of trees, how it's actually killing trees and plants. Spraying this stuff not only harms the land and the water and the soil, but it's also harming us. The stuff that they used back in the day, this has been going on for like 100 years. The first patent was from 1891. They used to use balloons and put it up there, and they had like a heavier metal and it would just fall to the ground. Now the new technology they have is like a nano particle, and so it's harmful to not the soil and the water, but it's also to us. They even say this in their own documents that it could cause harmful effects on people, and they still spray it and they don't care. So the reason I'm here is I just want to get how do we get a bill like this into Congress where Tennessee just passed this SB 2691? I know there's probably a lot of things that have to happen, but I'm a concerned citizen. I'm the only one. I mean, my family, my friends, my neighbors, they all were in support of me coming here talking about this. So that's why I'm here.
Yes, if you can give us their information, we'll certainly take it into committee and discuss it. If you just give us a copy of.
But yeah, I can leave this with you guys. That's perfectly fine. Sure. I guess that's it. I just.
Okay, anybody, Supervisor Well?
Chairman, I'm just curious, what's the end result or purpose of this? What are they trying to accomplish?
Well, they claim it's for climate change, how they want to fix climate change and they want to keep spraying this stuff into the atmosphere to help reduce the energy, like it's actually called SRM. It's solar radiation modification. So it's reflecting the sun back into the atmosphere. Even though the sun is what literally gives us everything, life on this planet, the trees, us, we need the sun. So that's what they're aiming for. But that's kind of a Trojan horse, in my opinion. I don't know. I think something else might be going on. The EPA just came out about 7 years ago saying that this stuff affects us. These nanoparticles are like coming into our bodies. They don't know what the actual long-term effects are. And that's why we're basically test subjects. So I don't consent to experimentation. And that's my main point here.
We certainly will take that up and take it through our committees if we can get.
Sure, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other Supervisor McGowan?
Thank you. I've been doing some reading and research in that, and it's happening here in this country and actually in other countries. It's the alarming rate of Airbnbs. And if I'm asking all the town supervisors in that, and maybe something that the county and economic, I haven't talked to Mr. Supervisor Echu yet about it, but this alarming rate of Airbnbs, what it seems to be doing is pricing the average house out of the local economy's reach to own. And if anybody is in the real estate, that maybe notice that the commissions are quite high on some of these properties, but the pricing of housing is outrageous. And when you can get $2,500 a week to rent, why wouldn't an investor want to do this? And if you look in the paper and the Chronicle every week and you start seeing all these LLCs, where there used to be names, now these LLC groups that these are eye openers for me of business groups buying up these homes. And the prices are so high that the average salaries can't afford a house. I mean, I want you to think back of cars. I mean, the average price for a car now is $45,000. So you throw in a car payment and then a house payment of, what are they the average of now? I mean, it's ridiculous. So it's a growing concern that I think that we all need to look at and start putting, I don't want to say start putting, something that we ought to be aware of and look, because what's going to happen is that the lake is going to be bought up. So we can't even use our lakes because they're going to be just for the runoff. It's going to force the people out that want to live on the lake and keep the lake open to the public. I know it's kind of a whirlwind right now of, what I'm saying, and it might be confusing, but I've been reading more and more about this, and it's becoming very alarming. And I just want to have everybody just open up their eyes that maybe this is something that we should bring up in economic growth and maybe look into putting, like Lake George, putting on limitations where Airbnbs can only be in a certain space, I know the town of Queensbury, you can't have any businesses in residential areas, but when you have an Airbnb in the middle of a residential neighborhood, to me, that is a business. That is not, if you don't live in that home, you cannot rent out that home. All right, it's simple. So I think that we need to look into this before it gets out of control, because it is happening all over the world.
Before I address Supervisor Paget brought that up already to us. We discussed it a little bit at the committee last committee meetings. Supervisor Paget and the town of Hague talked about this already. Supervisor Lucido, you had.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In addressing Mr. McGowan, we have been paying attention to it for a few years in Lake George, the town and the village. I could speak mostly for the town. You know, me being in the business I'm in, I obviously should be against it, but I'm not completely. And what we've done is basically in a broad stroke, we've allowed it in commercial zones, our TC zone, our RCH zone. It's allowed. If you could build a commercial property in that zone, you could have an Airbnb. There's a lot of HOAs that protect it and it's in their bylaws not to allow them. We have a lot of that up there also, but our residential zones, our cul-de-sac neighborhoods, absolutely not. So we have been paying attention to it and we probably have about 170 applications or permits out there, licenses for Airbnbs right now. And, but no, we're on it and that's how we're addressing it. But you know, I can say the Airbnb properties are some of the nicest ones. They keep them up and it does help assess value too from that standpoint. But yeah, it is protected. And I know a lot of the towns around us handle it a little differently, but that's how Lake George handles it. So it is not allowed everywhere.
Supervisor Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The meeting I attended recently, the county planning department gave a presentation, and I believe part of that, they have catalog, whatever you, however you word that, the various municipalities and the concentration of Airbnbs, et cetera. So my point is they are or have looked at that. I don't know if they're still continuing. I think you were there, you know, that meeting.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah. It has been a topic of more discussions.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any Supervisor Paget?
I just wanted to tell Mr. McGowan, maybe you weren't here, but Hague is just taking a position that we are aware that they're very necessary to our community, but we're trying to slow them down. Meaning we have a 3-year moratorium. You can't become an STR until 3 years after the date of new property purchases. So we're just trying to slow the growth, not stop them, but slow the growth. I don't know that we're trying to do something and not just sit on our hands, I guess, in our community.
I was, excuse me. Somebody else had their hand up first. Who was it? Over here?
Is this for Airbnb?
Oh, there,
Separate topic?
Oh, separate topic. Okay. Any other discussion on the Airbnb topic? Real quick?
Yes, real quick. Thank you. And I was at that meeting. I really, well, I did hear that and, you know, that's a start and that's a movement and you've recognized it. But the other thing I can say and also with Roy Marino is the hurt on the hotel business is what these are also doing is something that we need to look into. So
thank you.
But thank you all for making it aware and we need to stay on it.
Any privilege of the floor on this? Please come up, podium, state your name, location.
Town Councilman Jim Niles, Lake Luzerne. Just so you know, Lake Luzerne passed our short-term rental law a little over a year ago. We have 60 some odd registered STRs now. The biggest meat we put in our law was we capped it at 120 in the town. Your approach up there is interesting. Our approach was we capped it at 120. When 119 pops up, probably in another year or so, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Okay. All right. Any other topics? Supervisor Grassi,
Thank you.
on this topic? No, Supervisor Grassi.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of quick items. We've heard from several supervisors today about the impacts of the storm. We've had for some time in Warren County, a mobile app called Ready Warren. And out of the 65,000 plus residents we only have 1,000 registrants. You can do the math. That's a really extremely low number. We've got about 4,000 or so followers on Facebook through emergency services. I would ask the administrator and our public information office to consider and more aggressive public outreach. We did this initially, it fades, but the impacts of this week should be, really close to the memory. So whether it's a press release that we once again announced this, it's such an easy app to download on either Apple or Android. Android, I think it'd be very useful. Second thing is communication is obviously key, either before the storm, during the event, or after the event. Fully recognize how severe this one was, and National Grid, I think that it is doing a tremendous job. But I have a question in general about the communication with National Grid. We're having these calls at 2:00 every day. At 2:00 in the afternoon, and there's many counties involved in it. What's happening in Saratoga County, Hamilton County, those kind of discussions. It would be terrific to have a specific Warren County call. The Administrator's Office and Anne Marie Mason Emergency Services has been good about telling us, you had this many out, now you've got this many out. The key for our residents is to keep them informed. Just like yesterday, most of the town and many other towns had service restored. And then all of a sudden in the afternoon, they went out again. Nobody could figure it out. So we started to get many calls, people even coming to town hall because they use that for shelter or internet. Nobody could figure out what happened. I was able to reach out to our rep, Tom Lewinsky. He's terrific, the National Grid rep for Warren County. And what you find out is that a substation in Chester actually blew. And they were going to bring a portable substation from Albany to Chester and reconnect service. Well, that's extremely valuable information to know. It reduces the anxiety and tension on our residents. So I would encourage, and I brought this up when National Grid is asking for increased rates, that we need to talk to them about communication. We need to talk to them about upgrades. I don't know if the North Country has got the same standard of today's equipment that many other communities have. I tend to doubt it because we lose service too often, not just in a major storm, that's anticipated, but certainly at other times as well. And the very last thing is I bring up broadband a lot. I was corrected by a resident to say, it's not that we don't have broadband access. There's satellite access that is available.
Right.
The issue is it's expensive, the startup cost and monthly costs. So I think, when we talk about broadband, we need to talk about affordable, in most cases, broadband access. That satellite is available. We just need to make that aware of for our residents. So thank you for your time.
Supervisor Stroud.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the cost of Balloon Festival, 100,000. And a discussion of Albuquerque. Albuquerque has an organization called the Albuquerque International Balloon Fest Incorporated. It is a 501c3 nonprofit. However, they have 7.7 million net expenses according to the 2014 990, and that was the only thing I could bring up for the sake of this meeting, but it gives you an idea. So again, 7.7 million in expenses, and 614,000 of that is for salaries of people whose dedication is to organize this 9-day balloon festival. We pay $100,000 this year anyways. Usually it's 50 for a balloon festival that brings in huge economic impact at a minimal expense, especially if you're going to start comparing it to these other balloon festivals. These are all volunteers who work for nothing. So I think we should be very grateful that we have this organization willing to do this for the amount of money we give them. They can do this. That's wonderful, especially when you compare it to what's going on in Albuquerque. That's big money. All right. That's my piece.
Anybody else? Supervisor Strainer, you haven't spoken today.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few things, Nate. Nate wanted me to let you know in another 4 days, it'll be his 1-year anniversary. So I said I would bring that up. Couple weeks. Not that I care, but I said I'd bring it up. Also, the Cornell Golf Tournament is coming up August 24th. We're still looking for teams, hole sponsors and silent auction items. This raises a lot of money to send the kids to camp, to help the master gardeners, to help the 4-H programs. So if anyone can help out, we greatly appreciate it. I wanted to mention that at the Civic Center, our own Jeff Mead was Executive of the Year for there's 27 teams in our league. We're the smallest market, and Jeff was voted for Executive of the Year. So that was pretty good for him, and that's 29? Yeah. Ted Siplitz lied to me, told me 27. But Ben corrected me. Ticket sales, we were one of the highest in ticket sales, and that's pretty much thanks to Sean Driscoll, Ben's son. He's done a great job. And then corporate executive Ted Siplitz was a nomination. The other thing was, I don't know if any of you looked at the Chronicle and looked at the graduations that happened in our area. There was a number of children that, were very high in grade point average. But the one thing that stuck out in my mind is we always hear that these kids today are lazy. They don't want to work. Well, let me tell you what, everyone I read in there, and I didn't read them all. These kids have been working since they were in 9th grade, and they were all going to the same places they've always worked. So I can't agree with people when they say kids today are lazy and don't want to work, because those kids all were in the top of their class, and, and they're all working. One other thing, I don't know if you all saw the email we got, but it's in the Chronicle today. Heroes of Hospitality is coming up, and that's going to be at the Fort William Henry on July 31st. People from here, our own Dennis Dickinson, God rest his soul, he's going to be honored. Gene Merlino, he also will be honored at this, and Vinny Cressito. And I've heard mentioned Vinny is going to be buying drinks, but just for him. So be nice if we had a good contingent to go support these guys. They've done a lot for our area, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Supervisor Conover?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what your Supervisor Gerasi said, I guess I would direct this to the county administrator. I think that our Facebook site might be able to do a "Did you know?" and where they could highlight the OES program. But another program they should highlight is the National Grid program that also has their outage map. Now, you do have to have access. Oh, and part of that is that National Grid will also text message you if you have outages in your area. Now, a lot of people make use of those programs. And naturally, if you're in an impacted area, you don't have internet. Well, that creates some limitation. But I think that letting more people know that during these storm events, there's all kinds of information out there that you can access. Up-to-date information, I think, would be helpful. And maybe we could do a little "Did you know?" And then for those towns that have Facebook sites, not all do, but the ones that do, they could take the county posting of "Did you know?" put it on the town sites. And then you're going to reach an even bigger audience of people so that they know how to figure out what's going on in their community. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Supervisor?
Chairman, I just want to keep announcing that our project advisory group for the Warren County 2040 comprehensive plan is meeting again before our next monthly meeting. It's August 15th, 3:30. Continues to be at the Warrensburg Firehouse. We're getting closer to a draft. We had our workshop a month or two ago. Several of us are on the group. Sarah Bruger, our principal planner, is on the group. We are currently under budget, under burn rate, which is encouraging. So just want the public's encouraged to attend. It'll be my privilege to attend the Heroes Hospitality. Signed up, ready to go.
Okay. Supervisor Bruno, last word?
Chairman, what's that?
The last word?
Perfect. Regarding the Balloon Festival and the Occupancy Tax Committee, I attended that meeting where Mr. Donahue, that's correct, came and made a presentation, initially asking for an increase to $75,000. His presentation was so impressive that the committee ended up awarding him $100,000. So my point is, if you could get that information that he provided which I think was the impetus for increasing that, and distribute that to the supervisors, or at least part of it, that may help with an understanding of how important this is, the impact, et cetera. Now, maybe it won't have the same effect as it did when he made the presentation, because I and everybody else was very impressed, but that may be something to consider to get that information. Thank you.
Supervisor Paget.
Yes, I just had three little quick things. I just wanted to publicly thank Mr. Driscoll for coming to Hague. He just made our community aware of programs that are available to our community that we can all, well, some people can benefit from. Two, I just wanted to thank the county. We officially, Hague has become a pro-housing community certified. The planning department really stepped up. Sarah Kruger is here, made multiple trips to the town of Hague, and she basically ran point on this start to finish, and we really appreciate it. And as we understand it, it could really open doors for us in the future. So thank you, Sarah. Lastly, I just want to make Warren County aware that Hague is starting the process to become a local waterfront revitalization community. Well, local waterfront revitalization program, and we're applying for a grant to do that. And as we understand it, Tracy Clothier is helping us with that. That could really help open grant opportunities in the future, and really helps with the points as it pertains to these grants. And just wanted to make Warren County aware. Thank you.
Anything else? Please step up to the podium.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick clarifying facts. Because of the OCTAX discussion, and again, because our computers were down, I was going off of a text, and I now have the numbers better in front of me. So just to be clear, and I'm now in this OCTAX world for whatever, going on 7 months here, and a lot of you are not in it day to day, which I have been fortunate to be in. Just, I wanted to give you a breakout. 87% of our current receipts of receipts to date, forgive me, as of 7/18, our OCTAX receipts are $1.6 million. I gave you the variance before, so my apologies about that. But OCTAX receipts 2024, 7/18 are $1.6 million. Of that, we have 213,000 that are short-term rentals. So clearly the hotels are the big drivers of the OCTAX. But again, it's growing significantly, the OCTAX from year to year. So last year, now I'm just going to give you a year-to-year comparative. In total, we are up 168 or 169,000. So we're up 12% overall. The short-term rentals last year were only 114,000. Now they're up $212,000. They're up to 212. So that's the 86% increase. So again, apologies. I was going off of a text on a phone because we didn't have computers. So again, 86% of our total OCTAX received to date is hotels. 13% is our short-term rentals. Just one other thing with our budget variance report. When I go back to the occupancy tax reserve numbers, again, it's a shorter, more concise, it's more of a cash flow analysis that Heather Bagshaw has put together. It gives you a much better perspective of her cash flow situation. And again, up until we come into the high season where we're pulling in, the dollars from the hotels and the short-term rentals, she has been in a negative cash flow position. So it's important to look at that analysis, because she can't expend any further dollars until she's without going into the reserve, until she's in a positive cash flow position. This analysis gives you a much better perspective of that go forward. And it would be good to take a look at that on an ongoing basis. Other than that, just one word on the budget process. In addition to the 5% reduction, which I know it's going to be painful, and I know everybody's going to do their best. I would just like, to also focus on, where else we can maybe drive revenues, or where, take a look at all of the commitments that we have and look at it more holistically from a business case perspective, where we're spending out dollars to take a look at what's the benefit of this, and just kind of look at it holistically for the county. One thing that came out of the budget
budget kickoff with the department heads the other day, was that the department heads asked when you're changing their budgets or when we're changing their budgets, they just would like a little communication on that because sometimes they're caught a little bit off guard. And that was committed to, and everybody's excited about or happy about that. But the other thing that came out was, make sure when we look at the budget from, I think the adoption, or excuse me, the proposed budget is in October, and it's 3 or 4 weeks, and then it becomes the final or adopted budget. Make sure you check those numbers for your respective town spend, and you don't miss that maybe you didn't receive numbers that you were expecting. Because that's a big, don't count, make sure you're just in alignment with the budget that it's adopted. And then in addition to revenue drivers, cost avoidance, contract renegotiation, I'm excited to be part of the budget process this year to see if we can, in addition to expense reduction, look for other ways to maybe drive revenue. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn by Supervisor Brady.